What if I told you that the biggest mistake of your life isn't failing, but never trying? There is a Japanese proverb that has changed the lives of many people around the world. Shippai wa seiku no moto. It seems complicated, right? But the meaning is devastating. Failure is the foundation of success. It's not learn from your mistakes. It's not try again. It's much deeper than that. It's the idea that failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the path to success. Researchers studying human behavior have discovered something fascinating. People who avoid failure at all costs are much more likely to live with deep regret throughout their lives. Do you know why this happens? Because this type of person lives limiting themselves, constantly repressing their own potential, afraid of the consequences, afraid of making mistakes and being the butt of jokes from their friends or family. And you know what's worse? Most of these people don't even realize they're doing it. These people simply don't try. They don't open that business. They don't take that course. They don't ask that person out. They don't invest in that dream. Why? Fear. Fear of failure. Fear of being rejected. Fear of losing money. Fear of looking stupid. And this fear kills your dreams before they even exist. But today we will explore more about this Japanese proverb, which has the power to free you from the chains of fear and has the power to make you start pursuing your best version. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Was Afraid to Live. Let me tell you a story about a guy. Let's call him Michael. Michael was 22 years old. He had graduated from high school a few years ago. He got a job at an electronics store. The salary was low, but it paid the bills. Michael wasn't stupid. He had ideas. He had dreams. He had potential. But Michael had a very common problem. He was afraid. Fear of failure. And that fear controlled every decision he made in life. Every day, Michael woke up at 6 in the morning. He had coffee. He went to work. He came home. He watched Netflix. He went to sleep. And the next day, the same thing. On weekends, it was the same routine. Nothing changed. And you know what's worse? Michael knew. He knew he was under arrest. He had a dream of starting his own business. He always had. Since he was a child, he imagined owning a company, being the master of his own time, building something with his own hands. But whenever he thought about starting, that voice in his head would say, "What if it doesn't work out? What if you lose all the money you've saved? What if people laugh at you?" So he did nothing. Michael also wanted to invest, to study the financial market, to make his money work for him. But whenever I was about to open an account with a brokerage firm, fear would creep in. What if you lose everything? And he would give up. Michael was thinking about going to college, maybe engineering, something that made sense. But every time she went to register, fear would creep in. What if you don't like the course? What if it's too difficult? What if you spend years studying something you're not going to use? And he did nothing. And do you know what else was killing Michael inside? He had a girl at his work, Sarah. Michael had been in love with her for months. She was amazing, intelligent, funny, beautiful. Every time she passed by him, his heart raced. Every time she smiled, he thought, maybe I'll ask her out today. But whenever he mustered up the courage, fear would hit him harder. What if she says no? What if she laughs at you? What if you get rejected in front of everyone? So Michael did nothing, and Sarah remained there, smiling, and he just watched. You know what's interesting? Fear is necessary for human survival. It's a feeling that keeps us alert, that prevents us from doing dangerous things, things that could put our lives at risk. In ancient times, the people who were more afraid generally lived longer. Think about it. In a tribe, if a brave person decided to go for a walk in the forest alone, that person could be attacked by a wild animal and die, while the fearful ones who decided to stay in the tribe remained alive and healthy. However, this ancient mechanism of our brain today makes us think that everything is a mortal threat, when in reality it isn't. Think about it. If you go to talk to that person you like and they don't want to go out with you, what will happen? Will your life end? Will you go to jail? Will you die? No, none of that will happen. If the person says no, you might be sad for a few days, but soon after you'll go on with your life normally. Now think about it from another perspective. What if the person says yes? What if the person is willing to talk to you and get to know you better? Perhaps you're missing out on something you've always dreamed of because you're afraid it won't turn out the way you'd like. But know this: the regret and pain of never having tried is far worse than the discomfort of failure. Chapter 2: The Pain of Not Trying. Do you know what the saddest part of Michael's story was? He was suffering all day. He wasn't happy. He was just existing. He woke up every day knowing he could have more, knowing he deserved more. But he preferred to live with the pain of never having than to live with the discomfort of trying. Because trying meant taking a risk, and taking risks meant the possibility of failure, and failing, in Michael's mind, was the worst possible scenario. But do you know what Michael didn't understand? He was already failing. Every day that he didn't try, he was failing. Failing to live the life he wanted. Failing to become who he could have been. Failing to be happy. A psychologist with years of experience in human behavior said something that should be on every wall in the world. The pain of regret is infinitely greater than the pain of temporary failure. Because failure hurts, but it passes. You try. You make mistakes, you learn, you adjust, you try again. But what about regret? Regret remains. He will be with you forever. And Michael was building a lifetime of regrets. He looked at his friends who took risks, who tried, who failed a few times, but kept trying. And he saw these friends living, while he was merely surviving. Chapter 3: The Day Everything Changed. Until one day something happened. Michael was at home, end of another ordinary day, another day where nothing changed. He was browsing the internet, aimlessly, just killing time. And suddenly, he saw something. A post on a social network, a sentence in Japanese. Shippai wa seiku no moto. Failure is the foundation of success. Michael stopped. He read it again. Failure is the foundation of success. Something about that sentence had touched him. He clicked. He started searching. And what he discovered changed everything. Shippai wa seiku no moto is not just a cute proverb, it's a philosophy of life. Michael discovered that this idea has been deeply rooted in Japanese culture for centuries. In Japan, failure is not seen as the opposite of success. It is seen as the necessary ingredient for success. Think about it. When you learn to walk, you fall many times. When you learn to speak, you make mistakes constantly. When you learn any new skill, you fail at first. And it is precisely through these failures that you learn. But at some point in life, society teaches us that failure is bad, that making mistakes is shameful. You need to get it right the first time. And that paralyzes us. Michael continued his research. He discovered that in Japanese companies, especially the most innovative ones, there is a culture of fail fast, learn fast. The idea is not to avoid mistakes. It's to make small mistakes early on, before investing everything. Test, fail, learn, adjust, try again. He read about Japanese martial arts, where masters say that every fall on the mat is a lesson, not a failure. He read about the concept of Kaizen, continuous improvement through small steps. And Michael realized something. He had spent years of his life trying to avoid failure. And in the process, he avoided success as well, because you can't have one without the other. Chapter 4: The Change of Perspective. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He spent hours thinking about all the times he didn't try, all the opportunities he let slip by, all the what-ifs that he never explored. And he felt angry, not from others, from yourself. Anger at having wasted so much time, anger at having let fear control him, anger at having chosen the safety of mediocrity instead of the risk of greatness. But Michael also sensed something different. Something he hadn't felt in years. Hope, because he finally understood. Failure was not the enemy. The fear of trying. That was the real enemy. Shippai wa seiku no moto. Failure is the foundation of success. It's not, maybe you'll learn from your mistakes. It's, you need to fail to achieve real success. Michael realized that everyone he admired had failed. That businessman he followed on Instagram,